Thank you for showing up. Showing up is the first one. You have to see as you're building your brand, whether you're creating or whatever profession that you are. So thank you for showing up. So we'll start. So we've Louis has done a very good introduction in terms of what has been uh, the week. This is one of the highlights of the week. We've had the photography week. Yesterday was World Photography Day. It was also World Humanitarian Day, as most of you know. And so it's a gift of storytelling that we are celebrating this week. And so to in the midweek, we also, of course, we're finishing it up tomorrow. We'll have a check and clean at the store, at the Cameras Africa store. But I want to introduce peers, friends, and people who are amazing storytellers. They're amazing photographers. They're amazing creators. And I will start off from that end. They have amazing bios, so I'll just read each of them and then we can delve into it. So we have Job Mbugua. Job is a writer, he's a filmmaker. He's also an all-round storyteller based in Nairobi. He works as a director and a cinematographer and thinks of himself as a social activist. So he'll tell us about that. He's someone who believes a story is one of the most useful tools we have for building a better world. Makofi. All right. Next is the lovely June July. June July. By the way, utatuambia. Yes, there has to be a story there. He's a self-taught photographer in the imaging industry in Nairobi, Kenya. She established her business in 2015 with 10 years of experience. She specializes in portraiture, creating images with a clean, bold, and African-inspired look. She also specializes in capturing striking imagery with interest in commercial, portrait, beauty, and fashion industry. Well done. Good stuff. Next is the man next to me. He's called Charles Gomo the Great. Hiyo pia utatuelezea. He's passionate about creating premium content and powerful visual stories over the years. That's what he has been doing. He specializes in portraiture, corporate branding, product and storytelling photography. Job and him had a wonderful workshop on Tuesday and yesterday. I believe some of you attended that. So he creates images that elevate personal and business identities. As a founder of Royal Real Photography, he has had the privilege of working with leading brands, hotels, and individuals to design photography experiences that merge artistry with business value. His work ranges from corporate headshots and personal branding portraits to interiors and documentary style storytelling, with a goal to deliver premium quality and impact. Good stuff. Please give it up to Joe. All right, good stuff. So I'll start off with ladies first, right? So, I mean, as you introduce yourself, tell us a bit about the June July story. There's a story there. But every creative has a unique journey, yeah? So, what did yours look like, and what has kept you going over the last decade since you started off?
Hi, my name is June July. It's a governmental name, no jokes. I am called June. July is added for brand presence. It started off as a nickname that I kept on because it's catchy and it ties into my identity. I started off as I've always known I'm into visual arts. I at first thought I was into visual arts through makeup. And so when I would look at magazines, I would be inspired by the makeup and thought that that was the path that I wanted to go to. I then discovered through working with a makeup artist that I really enjoyed creating portraits and photos. And so that's where the brand started, essentially. Please remind me the second half of your question. What keeps me going?
Yes, and what did your journey look like? Of course, I think you've mentioned that, but what keeps you going so far? It's been 10 years in industry. How has that been?
So I'm primarily a portrait photographer, and I think the one thing that definitely keeps me going is that people and their stories that they have to tell are never the same. They're not stagnant. And so you're not existing in a world that feels one note. So every person I capture has a certain story that they're telling, and that in itself keeps me going, because then it keeps the need for like wanting to capture something differently and more impactful always on the front of my mind. So yeah.
All right, good. Thank you. Thank you for that. So thank you. Job, same question. You don't have a June, July. You forgot to tell us about that first.
The name.
The name.
The name is a nickname.
It's a nickname.
Yes.
This is a story around it, or
Yes.
but
So
it's
when I
thick,
was
or-
on set, when I started off how a lot of us start as an assistant. I was an assistant to a makeup artist. I then became an assistant to a photographer. So I was out there holding the reflectors and making sure, even at 4'9", guys, it's hard. It's hard. But basically, once I was on set with Emmanuel Jambo. Do people know Emmanuel Jambo in the room? Big shout out. And so when I worked with him, a lot of the times on set, they nicknamed me June July.
Right.
And the name stuck, and it had a very nice, I don't know, it felt like a name I want to absorb and keep. So June is the governmental name, July is added for vibes.
So I don't know. Has mom and dad forgotten to call you? Do they call you June and July now?
I'm referred to as June July a
Mhm.
lot in professional settings.
Right.
A lot of the people who know me in person also call me June July because it is true to who I am now. But my parents call me June. Yeah.
Sasa, no, thank you. Job, do you have a nickname? And so as you answer that, what has been your creative, your unique journey as a creative? I know you've been there for a while. Heavy stride. So what has kept you going? In a nutshell, how has your creative journey started? How did it start, and to where now you are?
So my name is Job. Government assigned job, parent assigned job, friends
All of
assigned
them.
job. But I think it's too short for people to actually come up with a nickname for. So it was always Job. Growing up, Job. Everywhere else, Job. I started photography in high school. After finishing class 8, sometimes you're given a gift. My grandfather and my mom gave me the film cameras. And I used to take photos of everything: birds, trees, people walking, people eating. But back then it was not digital. Unapiga unaenda unaedit. Unapiga unajaza the film ya 38 pictures. Then you have to take it to town. They have to develop the film for a few days, then unaenda unazichukua. So if by the time if you did good work, it will be two months from the day you first took the first photo. So, and then I fell out of love with photography at some point. I think I just kept the camera away, forgot about it, went on with sports. I used to love sports a lot. So photography for me was taking away time from sports. So I just dropped photography, concentrated on sports. Went to campus, did IT, business and IT. Opened up an electronics shop in town and was an IT person for the longest, doing websites, softwares. That was what I thought I would do for the rest of my life. But then I used to import cameras for a few of my friends, Akina Namooks, Akina TJ. People want batteries. It's when Sony was just coming into the market. So people are getting the Sony cameras. There are no batteries. There is no shop in Nairobi that is stocking anything Sony. All the shops are Canon, Nikon. So I would import accessories for people, batteries, lenses. And one of the clients imported a camera and a lens and some batteries, but they never came for them. So after a week of, not even a week, a month of just staring at the boxes, what's this, what's this? I finally opened it up, set it up, tried a few pictures here and there, started shooting people walking in town, street photography, shooting products in the shop, but then I still put it away and forgot about it again. Up until my wife started a fashion business, and I would call my friend Namooks to come and take pictures for the business. And he would get annoyed. When your friend is calling you for work, they'll pay you peanuts. Basically, to him after a lunch. So he would get annoyed because sometimes he has a shoot or he needs to edit, but then I have to call him. tuende mahali, tuende tukapige picha, and he's like, si uko na kamera kwa duka, kuja nayo. So ninaweka auto, akipiga ninapiga, ananipigia kelele, toa auto, weka manual. So that was my journey into photography. That was in 2018. So the client finally came for the camera 6 months later. And I was devastated that I did not have a camera anymore. So I got my first Nikon D30, 31 or 3200. 3200 with a 35mm. That was where my partnership with Cameras Africa started. It is when they had, who knew Cameras Africa when they had a perfume shop? Cameras Africa used to sell mostly perfumes and gifts. That's where the Universal Gift Center name came from. Yeah, so the camera section was like a small section in the corner. So I went there, got my first camera, my first lens, and I started shooting fashion, lifestyle. And then a few of my friends would see what I'm doing, and then they have an event, come shoot this. Up until one day, a friend of mine was very big project. The photographer did not show up in the morning, and they called me, come, we need photos. I got there, they now need videos. So I was thrown into the deep end with my D3200 and 35mm to shoot an event with the delegates and to do interviews. I didn't even know we needed mics back then. So I shot everything. I'm having fun because the picture looks so good. But then I went to edit, and I could hear all the other noises except the one person who is speaking. So for around 2 nights I could not sleep because the client is asking, we need those interviews, we need to post them somewhere. And I'm telling them, oh, I'm busy, I have a shoot. But I'm on YouTube, I'm researching, I'm going to friends. I think I visited around 10 friends in a span of 2 days. I go to these friends, so I shot this, but I can't hear anything. They try their hand at it, and no. For this one, try Tinsit, try Mutua. So I went round. I did quite a number of visits, late at night, early in the morning, and I could not save the audio. So they told me they have another shoot on a Wednesday. So now I was focused on getting the best possible deliverable for this one so that they forget there was something else I was to deliver. So now I went, did a lot of research on mics, how to get good sound, got my first mic, like a shotgun mic that put on top of the camera. Then same scenario, did a lot of good work. I was happy with what I'm seeing. But then I get home, apparently the minute you connect a mic, you're supposed to adjust levels and everything. So that was basically my journey. Self-taught, making mistakes, learning from those mistakes, up until I got to a point where I was comfortable enough to now know that I've grown this camera, I need this camera. Got my first Sony A7. It was the first, I think, mirrorless camera ever produced. And I fell in love with videography because of getting that first Sony camera, because I hated photography. I loved videography. All the people I was looking up to online on YouTube were all doing video. So that was how now I ended up in video. Fast forward to today, still doing video, still doing a lot of research so that I don't mess up audio. Yeah. That's why if you attended the Tuesday masterclass, we had a whole unit on sound. That's why I'm very touchy when it comes to sound, because I really struggled with sound starting up. Yeah. What has kept me going is one, making an income, but more than the income is to try and tell these stories that no one else is telling, because there is a very big divide where the people who can afford very good production value for their businesses are not necessarily telling stories. They are selling a product, they are in the corporate commercial spaces, but then my love is in the documentary space. So I excel a lot in the commercial and corporate field so that I can make enough money to sponsor my documentary journey, because I love traveling, I love covering maandamano, I love just hearing from people who would have otherwise not had an avenue to tell their stories. Yes.
Wow, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. It's been a journey, yeah. So, Charles,
Yes.
how did you start your journey? What inspires you? What keeps you going? And tell us about the Ngomo the Great. How that ties up.
My story is quite long. Sijui kama tuko na time.
Tapiga edit kidogo.
First job sikujua hiyo buji, yani ulipewa gift ya kamera June aliwork na Jambo, some of us. My story is pretty interesting. So first of all, let's get personal.
Alright.
I want to break it down to where I'm coming from. I'm coming all the way from Shags, Moya. Now coming here, my primary goal was to come and find a job. So it wasn't specified utaenda kuwa mwalimu, a doc, or a creative for this matter. So opportunities, let's say, were not there. At as I think my opportunities Korea. So now one thing led to the other, led to the other, led to the other, until I met people who were in road shows. They were doing the other track, the roadshow track, mnazijua tu hizi malori. And now the guy now who owned that business, anaitwa Richie, ended up now closing that. Eventually I joined him to help him in the sound area, but he ended up now closing the roadshow business. Thank God, akafungua studio. So now me, I'm coming to him kama mtu wa mkono tu, just there to assist. We need you to do this, do that, enda ukabanki check. You know, no more errands guy, yeah? And I was so comfortable with that. Sikuwa na ambitions to, you know, go the creative direction. But now, eventually now, you know, I got passionate about seeing what he was doing. And then that's how I forged now my interest in photography and just operating the camera. The settings zilikuwa tu zinaniscare. You know, look at, hizi vitu zote. What do I change? What do I need to touch on? So my interest first came from that challenge of not knowing, now to wanting to know. Now, I don't know what to skip on. Well, it's a long story, but I'm trying to summarize it. So eventually now I become a freelancer. You know, I'm doing all sorts of photography areas. Up to date anyways, sijai specialize, so wacha sikudanganye. I'm still doing literally all nature of photography because I'm finding it so fun doing whatever I have in my hands at the time. So if today I'm presented with a product photography, let's call it a project, I'm going to enjoy that so much. By the end, I'm like, by the kutoka leo, I'm going to be a product photographer. So tomorrow another project comes up. So we want you to do this project. Let's say it's even, you know, fashion or personal. Again, I end up enjoying that so much that I'm like, kutoka leo, takuwa kama June, I'll be doing portraits only. Again, now another challenge comes in, the next time. So I've been quite passionate about different areas of photography. I don't know if that's a problem or it's a good thing, because now I tend to like to do everything, you know, in the same industry. Even now, can you imagine now I'm also producing podcasts. So niko all round really. So in that content, digital media production and business. Now, what has kept me going primarily ni kuja hapa kutafuta pesa. So money is a big motivator for me because I want to make money, make a living, provide for myself, you know, and be able to afford gear. Cameras Africa are not cheap. So yeah, there's a need to grow and generate income. Yeah. Have I missed any other question?
You forgot the story, the nickname, the name. There has to be a story there.
There is a story. So Ngomo the Great, first of all, I'm a very faithful guy in terms of I'm a believer. Like I was telling the guys yesterday, I'm a born again Christian. So now I'm a firm believer of what I claim about myself, I become. So I want to be the great. No offense, but I want to be better than you guys in a nice way. So I really want to be good and great at it. So the name, again, it's coming from, my need to just be good and be great at what I'm doing. Yeah, regardless of what it is I'm doing. Because as you've seen, I'm so excited and passionate about many areas of creative industries and yeah.
Right, and I just want to pick on
Yeah.
that, June, maybe, because you've had a time where you started off doing a lot of things, but then you sort of specialized to that. And for Charles, he's saying that he's really and truly, he's a child of the universe, of the
Right.
photography universe, and he's really not picked one thing. What would you say about that? And I mean, is it, how is it? When I reflected my own journey when I started off, of course, I did one wedding and I realized, wow, I really cannot do this. And what I really went to settle in was more the documentary photography. I loved people and I loved interacting with that wildlife. So I don't know. What do you think about what? Because you specialized, and then what do you think about
just
that?
also to give an idea of the specialization that I do.
Right.
The specialization I do involves fashion work, beauty work, commercial work, and wedding work as well. So people for me are found in different genres of photography, right? I think as a creative and as a creator specifically, there's always something that pulls us in from different directions, right? And I think that's the beauty of being a creative in general. I actually don't think we should necessarily be fit in one box, right? It is beautiful that you can be inspired by taking wildlife. Like personally for me, I take wildlife maybe just for my own self. I enjoyed the trip or I enjoyed what I was seeing. I wouldn't do it as something I earn money from. Because how I look at it is there's certain genres of photography that I want to experience and there's some that I want to create. And for me, the ones I want to create are people focused. The ones I want to experience are food photography from other people. I'm like, wow, that looks fantastic. Let me experience that dining experience from the work that I'm seeing. Let me experience going to the Mara and seeing the sunset the way Job could have captured it at on a documentary project. Those are moments I want to experience. But what I want to create as a person is now the people. Who are the people that run the camps? Who are the people that run the spaces? What's their story? Has anybody taken a physical image of who they are? So I think when you look at it like that, you get to experience life not necessarily boxed in, but experience it as a whole, because we are creators and we do create. So yeah.
Well, yeah, and probably Job, you can add to that, because if you're not in down the road probably specializing, because a lot of gear also goes to your specialization. For example, the kind of lens you might purchase for portraiture is not what you'll purchase for action. How's that also? Because you've also specialized, and I know you've been very, even whenever I meet you, it's like near documentary, sawa. So what's your take on it?
For me, specialization came as a result of wanting to perfect the craft. And in wanting to perfect the craft, I realized for me, I dive so deep into whatever I'm doing that if I was to try and do 3, 4, 5 different things, I would totally burn out just from research and just from trying to get this knowledge. I wouldn't have anything left to give to the craft when I actually have a client. So when I started, I said I was into photography, so I had these strobe lights, I had the AD400s, AD200s, the two small on-camera strobes. And then when I started video now, I had to get my video lights, the Godox, VC cores and everything else. But then I realized very fast that I am not able to grow in photography, have the right equipment in photography, grow in video, have the right equipment in video. It wasn't sustainable. Equipment is not cheap. So I made a decision, I'm going to do video. So I sold everything I had that was related to photography and invested in purely video equipment. Better lights, cameras that were more in tune with video work. I sold the A7, got the A7S. I was looking at the Nifty 50. People are complaining when it comes to video. There's a lot of focus breathing. What works for video? There is the 35mm and the 85mm. So I got that. So my specialization came as a result of limited resources. But then over time, my specialization came as a result of limited resources. But then over time, I realized that I can only be good at this one thing that I fully immerse myself into. So even the people I'm following online on IG are mostly in the documentary space. Those people I'm following on YouTube, those people I'm learning from on YouTube are in this documentary space because I wanted to be the best at this one thing that I am doing. Yes.
I mean, then Charles, for you, then that means that because there's a right tool for whatever you're doing. So for you having, you're committed to the different genres that you're working, how does that then affect, of course, when you're budgeting, when like you've had a job, you had to sell, you decided, I'm going to go to video, I'm going to actually sell off all my photography equipment. How has that been for you? Is it, when I come to your house, do you have like a whole cellar?
Yes, I do have quite a collection.
Yes.
Obviously, it's been like a dent financially because now you're accumulating all this stuff. But for me, I'm okay because I do see returns with what I put together in terms of equipment-wise, what we've been able to buy. The acquiring gear for us doesn't come as, let's just go buy whatever, it's there, it's at the shop. We buy based on the need, the demand. So for example, I mentioned earlier, we are now doing podcast production. So initially we didn't have podcast gear and equipment. But now when the need came and we have, let's say, potential clients who are asking and inquiring about it, we acquire now that particular gears to sort of now save ourselves in the hassle of hiring staff every other time. Because as hiring would have it, at times we may need something, it's not available. Or we end up, getting different sets of, let's say, lenses that are not matching one another the way we want to have, let's say, one system of cameras for a particular session. So financial wise, obviously, they are expensive. There is that. But now winding up or rather closing, maybe now I want to ask you as an expert, is this like a problem for people like myself who are passionate or really interested in other many things? And how do we niche down? How or when do you particularly say, Sasa, it's been a good ride, let's do one thing? First, is it like a problem to do all this? And how do we identify now, man, it's a ride now, Tulia, do one thing? Yeah.
I'll throw it back to June. Yeah. When did you, like the moth is just drawn to the light? When did you feel that then you like people and that's it? How did you really get into that?
So that goes back to
what Charles
the
has
first
asked.
time I picked up a camera,
Right.
which I'm not sure I shared. I was gifted a camera similar to Job.
Ouija, told you.
No. So when I was in uni, my first year of uni, I convinced my parents to get me a camera. This is now after I've already gotten the internship with a makeup artist. And once I was on set, I told them, hey, I'd really love to shoot. I started with a T3000 Canon, T3, something, yeah. And my drawing, my being drawn to people started in university. I shot what was available. What was available were my friends, and a lot of my friends wanted to be models. And they're like, June, you can take photos. You have a professional camera. Come, we'll do makeup. I'll put on some accessories. You can take photos. I'm concurrently at essentially still at internship of sorts with seasoned creatives in the industry, because I made sure that I was going along to photo shoots constantly so that I can learn on the ground. So I'm on the other hand in school trying to emulate the things I'm learning qua ground. And so I go and I take photos and I do the lighting the way I think they did it at the shoot, and by lighting I mean even like natural light, just placement. I think the first ever piece of can I call it a lighting thing? An accessory is a reflector. That's the very first thing I ever bought. And I would just go outside and I'm like, okay, I remember them angling it this way just so that the sunlight can hit this person a particular way. And over shooting my friends who wanted to be models, I started shooting events at school. So when they had different talks and, you know, classes and things like that. And as I then grew and grew and grew, I discovered that I really want to be able to tell people stories. So sometimes, and I will say it's a gift, sometimes your specialization comes to you. In my instance, my specialization came to me. For some people, and because I still experimented with other versions of photography, but because of my first interaction with what I was able to create and learning to create that, I found that that was the thing that I wanted to focus on. And I agree with when Job said, because of that, and when you specialize in something, you're able to be extremely good at your craft. You're able to understand what gear needs to go into this, what lighting needs to go into this, what conversation needs to go into this, because people don't just ready themselves and come in front of the camera and are ready to be photographed. That's rarely the case. This is a stranger, I'm a stranger. And they want to be comfortable with you and allow you to take a portrait of them. So my specialization, it's sort of both ways. It came to me, and yeah.
Let me ask, sorry, can I ask?
Yes, please.
I don't want to be the moderator. Acha niulize June before I forget. You did school, you didn't do photography, did you?
Myself?
Yeah.
No, I studied
Oh,
business.
okay,
I
nice.
studied business.
I want to ask in regards to, you mentioned earlier interning or having mentorship from the OG Jambo. My question would be like, how has being interned with him made you, or rather affected your decision in terms of coming out to specialize? Has that affected how you were able now to?
It was definitely a factor.
Yeah.
Because you are where you surround yourself.
Yeah.
So I wasn't, by the way, it wasn't like an official internship. I would simply go, remember my internship was with a makeup artist. So I would go where her projects are. And so at the time, if you guys remember True Love magazine, so I would go along for a lot of those shoots, and that's when I would interact with Emmanuel. But yes, being with people who shoot, and Emmanuel as well is a well-known portrait photographer. So it did in turn also influence my specialization, because I was able to see how things were achieved and all of that.
Yeah, and that's a good add-on, Charles, because, you know, as you said, we are products of our environments, you know, where you start off. And most times if you started off by interning as a wildlife photographer, probably, then that's where your journey takes you. And I think I like what you say, that at times your specialization comes to you. At times, and I think that's how then you're in this particular environment, you've learned the skills. And I do feel from the idea is that you learn within that place that you're in, but always remember you have your own wings, and you know you have then to actually just go out there and actually, you know, be able to be, you know, the creator that you are, and actually really get something going. So I want to just take it a bit, you know, notch higher. And Job, for you, for example, what's the one misconception through as you started off, and then tie it into some of, I'll not call them mistakes, but have you had expensive lessons? And expensive lessons can be your gear. I can see everyone is actually nodding. He's actually taking a sip of water also. So probably how has that been for you guys? And we can start off with Job, and of course you guys can take it up also.
I've had very expensive lessons.
First the misconception, and then the expensive lesson.
The misconception that is there is that I became good overnight, because most people say you've been shooting for 6 years only. So how did you start? How did you start? Because for all of us creatives, we never share what was not our best work. I'll make sure that whatever is online is my best work. And even what was my best work maybe when I was starting or 3 years ago is not my best work now. That's why sometimes I go online, naingia kwa IG, I'm scrolling and I'm seeing photos and I can't believe I'm the one who did these videos at some point. So I archive them yeah, and then just leave what's the best that I have? This is maybe just from this year, because you have to always want to be better than you are yesterday. My biggest competition when it comes to documentary filmmaking is myself. Is what I have to create today better than I created yesterday. So for most people, there is this misconception that Job anafanya hivi akona FX6, but I've created this same level of work on the A7 III. I was shooting on the A7 III for the longest period, and some of my best work was shot on the A7 III. There's this misconception also that if I come and work with June for 2 or 3 days, I'll be as good as June is.
Right.
It will not happen overnight. You'll have to learn from June. Maybe you think what you want to do and your style is what June wants to do, but then you work under her and you evolve your style to something different, and then you realize I also need to work with Charles because the way I'm lighting is also being influenced by how Charles lights. So we, as our moderator said, we are a product of our environment, and also our environment, we have to push the limits of this environment. If you want to work under someone like June said, she learned by extension. It is not even working directly under Jambo. It is just existing in the same space. When I wanted to go into the commercial space, I tried to look for a team that was doing commercials that I would even do BTS for. No one wanted me to do BTS on their sets. So one day, Tinse was shooting photography for a commercial set. So I went as Tinse's assistant in photography just so that I can see what happens on the video side of things in the commercial space. Yeah, so that I think is the biggest misconception people have, that this happens overnight, or people say I've posted something and it is like, what camera did you use? What lens did you use? I could have easily done that maybe on an A7 III, on an A6400, because at the end of the day, it's not about this camera that I have. The better camera makes my work easier, but it does not affect how I show up to this job. Yes. Second question was?
That was, I think you had mentioned it before when you're introducing yourself,
Yeah.
about the most, I'd say the most expensive
lesson.
I don't call them mistakes, but they're because they're experiences.
Hey,
But yes.
I've had mistakes. I love equipment and I do a lot of research on equipments. That's why sometimes Charles atanipigia we consult on a piece of equipment. So I'm an early adopter on so many new tech. It's a blessing and it's a curse at the same time, because that means I have to buy to know if it's working for me or not working for me. And nowadays, people don't see me selling things on groups because I've gotten slightly better at trying to identify what I need, and I have to classify it as, do I want this or do I need this? Most of the time, if I sleep on it for maybe a few days, I realize I wanted this, but I did not need this. But starting nikianza, someone is doing very good work. What lens was that? It's a 55 1.8. Okay. Parag, do you have a 55 1.8? Yes. What's the best price I can get for this? Okay, pap. I get it, and then it's not working for me. It's not fitting the way I shoot. So go online. Hi, I bought 2 lenses I needed. One, so I'm selling this. Box is available. I sell that piece of equipment, but of course you're selling it at a lower price than you bought. So I lost a lot of money in experiments by the time I was getting to a point where now I'm building up on these kits. I'm no longer adding variety, I'm adding quality. I have a 200 watt light. I need a 720 watts light, so I'm just adding on to that. I have a 4,000, 5,000 mic. I need a 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 mic. So I'm building up on quality, not necessarily range at this point. Yes.
Right. For you, June, I mean, as you just spoke to that question, one of the things that I get a lot of young creatives who are coming into the industry is that people get really excited about the new tool that has come out, right? And actually, you can do it so much with actually what you have. Where a camera has just been released today or tomorrow, all right, and then you're really excited about getting it there. Unasema ini hata iko na 5K, how many frame rates, it's higher and so on. Just tell us and where to a point you really have to be a bit restrained, and is it at sort of a journey where you're then going then towards then being a professional? Because as you're starting off, you're on the internet, you're checking Adorama, you're checking all these things, and you're seeing, wow. I see he's smiling. Probably has gone through that as well. So fold into that,
I mean, two things.
Yes.
Gear is a powerful tool, right? And output is something you need to think about. Where is what you're shooting going? That's one of the factors. Another factor I would say for gear specifically is, or at least my thumb of rule, is I'd like to know, right now I currently shoot on a Sony a7 IV. I want the Sony a7R5. That's my next digital purchase for photography. The reason I haven't upgraded yet, or one of the reasons, is I would love to know the capabilities of my camera to a particular extent. I'm going to go deep until I see to a particular extent where that gear is going to take me. I shoot a lot of commercial work now. I see the need of an a7R5, right? The output, or where it's going, maybe output isn't the word, but you know what I mean, guys, like where the work is going to be exhibited and shown, because new gear does come with new capabilities, new specifications, and as the gear upgrades, the specifications from a lot of our clients are equally changing, right? So the market is also determining where our work goes. There are several corporate jobs that I take where they want a specification of what gear you're using, what lenses you're using, because they know the output and the quality of work they would like exhibited, and in terms of the channels and the landing pages that work is going to go into. So some of those things are the things I factor in. But before I purchase new gear, I want to know how far I can go with it, before I go from my nifty 50 and say, oh, you know what, I want to shoot now, I want to shoot it with a 35mm. I get to the studio and actually a 35mm is not what I want to shoot with. I want an 85 because the compression is better and the clarity is better, and all those things I learn more when I continue to test out the gear that I have. So yeah.
So I'm guessing there are many instances where you've said, I have to calm myself down.
Yeah.
I don't
Slow down, kidogo.
need it. I want it, but I don't need it. I think that's what I'm hearing. It's a great just lesson to take away. Misconception through your journey.
I will say one of the biggest misconceptions, I have two that are highlighted. One of them is that your fellow creative is your enemy or is your competition. I feel like we exist, and I guess it's of creative spaces. I've only been able to experience what it's like in Nairobi and in Kenya, but there's a lot of fake competition. Fake being idealized, right? I'm actually not in competition with Job. In fact, it really doesn't hurt you to tell the next person why this certain gear is important to buy. It doesn't hurt you to tell them the lighting setup that you used to achieve that particular portrait. None of that information is ever going to affect your brand or your business. So a big misconception is viewing your creatives as competitors. And the second, as I said, and now it's left my head. But I think that's one of my main ones. If it comes back to me, I'll mention. Yeah.
Expensive lesson throughout your journey. So
Storage.
Tell
Where
us
are
about
your
that.
files going?
how did that go? How was that? Tell us.
It was not cute. I mean, listen, I don't know what to call myself. I enjoy keeping the data. I keep a lot of raw data. I don't like to delete a lot of things. It hurts. If I'm being honest, I'm a digital hoarder. So I probably have the raws from a shoot I did in 2013. You know what I mean? Like I have the hard drives from a shoot from back in the day. But not having the proper channels or backing them up in ways that shouldn't be backed up. As a photographer, our work moves from what we shoot in the gear to our computers to, so we really do have to be careful with how it's all transitioning, right? So
Yeah, and I understand that because at that point, like what Job was saying, when he created the first images, they were perfect. 4 years later, he looks at them and he says, "Am I the person who actually created this work?" So I think the idea is also you have to be a bit brutal with yourself, especially. I mean, it's a bit expensive, and then you sort of have to start being a curator by yourself. That's what I feel, and say this does not work, or there's time just to move on and actually upgrade your work. Charles, what about you? Misconception
Yeah,
and one of the most
expensive.
yes.
Right. I'm going to echo what they have said, but now not to just repeat what
And
again.
when I talk about expensive mistake, I don't
Yeah.
mean in terms of the
the
like it was-
monetary part. Yeah.
yes, I
All right.
mean one that you felt that really costed you. Did it cost your
Mm.
job? Did it cost your reputation?
Mm.
Right.
So, not to repeat what they've said, probably just adding on to it. One of the main one I can add probably is when people think it's easy. What we are doing. If myself personally, from my experience, I want to do things a certain level, which is again pushing myself to deliver the best quality possible. And I'm challenging myself in all ways. That is through learning on YouTube, attending workshop, for example, practicing daily, day out. And it's not easy. It gets hard. You're doing this practically every day, every hour. Sometimes, I don't know, most of us kama kuna watu hapa analala 8 hours normally. So we are always up working, for example, maybe post-processing materials. So this is not an easy craft. It's glamorized, yeah. It looks good, looks fancy, but getting to have it easy, or rather look easy, it takes time. Like I think someone said, it took me 15 years to blow out in a night. So now we won't see the last 15 years where they're gone into, but we can comfortably say you blew overnight, or for example, something like that. So there is that assumption of I'm coming into this industry because I've seen people take portraits and they are making money out of it. And maybe now we are in the space of thinking, oh, it's easy, I can come and do it. But it will require hard work. It's something that will need you to be persistent again. There is a pain in the investment part of it. It's capital intensive. Things are not easy on the same. The other part of misconception, the gear doesn't make the work. Again, you do that. Job mentioned that clearly. It's not the latest gear that you have that will ensure you have the best quality work. There is so much that is going into the production so that you achieve a certain output. So again, to answer, it's the gear doesn't make the work really. For me, what was the other thing? Sorry, the other question.
That was it in terms of your most expensive mistake
The expensive one is
or lesson. Sorry,
lesson. Yeah. It's we. When you're starting out in wedding photography, we come in as a team. For example, I'm not selling the service to come and shoot the whole wedding by myself. So now there's this particular time we had, or rather we were contracted by a fellow photographer, but he also had other people that we were not familiar with them. But one of the guy there, to cut the story short, he ended up being a pickpocket alienda kaiba kitu in the bride's family home rather. So now that was like a really embarrassing moment, because sisi wote now we all look guilty, right? Because, and again now we can't, I can't come and say sijui job and we are doing the same work. Yeah, we're coming there as a team, right? We are one unit that's supposed to deliver a certain service to this client, but now one of the guys they have, clearly hatujajuana, we are all freelancing and we've met there for the reason of the work. Akona mkono refu. So now that was a really embarrassing moment. I don't think I even ended up finishing up that job. I left at some point because nilikuwa naona tu kila mtu akiniangalia. That's the only thing on their head.
So do you feel did it damage your reputation?
Exactly. So now that's what I was coming to. So my lesson, or rather what I had failed to do, was vet people prior before now having myself get involved with. And at this level, for example, now I can say I don't want to associate my brand with just random people you've met and you haven't done your due diligence. You don't know who they hang out with, what they do, how their behaviors are. Mtu anaweza kwa, you know, when the party is kicking out in a climax, anasahau ako kazi. Anaanza kuwa fun at the guests, you know. So now those are two small things. Now at this level now, I'm keen on looking and not making the same mistake and, you know, spoiling your brand or your name or your reputation. So now, as fellow creatives, probably you may need someone to come and assist you in something, yeah. Jua, mtu ako aje, you know. Like June, I also do fashion photography. Na nimekuwa na hizi instances mingi. We had another assistant through a friend of ours. So tuko in the middle of doing photo shoot, you know, we have like change of clothes in the set. Eventually we see now our assistant anapima nguo za client. So she's trying to fit in, like, you see, can this jacket fit me? So now in my, you know, in looking at that perspective, what is the client going to think about? Akiana watu, you know, this is your team. We are there, me, Job, na June, and then who did you bring? Yeah. So you see now that tends to tarnish your brand and your name as well, because it's not them, it's these two people. It's you, all of you, really. Yeah. So now I feel that's many have been like quite painful ones, and those are the few I can probably now touch on at the moment.
Yeah, and I mean, to an industry where you're only as good as your last job.
Exactly.
June might have done 1,000 beautiful jobs, but when she messes the last one, people will remember that one. And I think, Louis, probably it's good that we later we can probably do a workshop on professionalism in terms of
And to
Yes.
add on to
There's
what
so many
Charles was
stories.
saying,
Ethics, yeah.
Yes.
Nowadays I do not select assistants based on quality of work. It's based on character, because quality of work can be taught and can be learned, but character, no. We've lost also jobs because we've gone to shoot an event. There's an open bar. Umemaliza kushoot, unaenda
Thank you.
home,
Yes.
unaitiwa mtu, unaambiwa kuna mtu amezima beshte yako, unasema hapana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes,
Yeah.
the client will not notice the quality difference if it's not that big, but they will notice a character difference. Yeah, so always vet your circle, work within a circle that you know I can speak and I can vouch for this person. They might not be the best wedding photographer, wedding videographer, corporate documentary person, but when it comes to how they handle themselves,
They have discipline there.
they are disciplined, they have a good culture, because that now means I can get another job from this client, even if they are going to give me notes where I did not like this picture, I just liked this picture. That is something we can work on. But as Charles amesema, mtu alichukua kitu, you've lost that client and you've lost the entire circle around that client. Yeah.
June, have you ever gone with probably one of the assistant where then they're dancing with the bride? They forgot. Have you heard stories?
I sound so privileged right now. However, maybe it's intuition, maybe it's God. I have never had a bad experience with my team. The people that I've worked with, thankfully, have always had a certain level of professionalism around me. Maybe the smallest demeanor will be how they dressed up to a job, but not necessarily what they did at the job. So I'm thankful. I'm thankful.
So right. So as we go towards the tail end of the session, I just want to ask, in terms of we are products, we are beings who are very passionate about what we do as creatives, right? But then how do you balance that creativity, that passion, and then knowing that you actually have to make a sustainable income on this? And are there times in your careers where you felt that I am done with this? You know, I'm actually done. And I don't want even to see that camera. I'm done and I'm finished. And really and truly, being very, very honest as far as you can, what made you, you know, move on? So it's about, you're talking about the entrepreneurship angle of it. And probably I can start it off with the June, and then we'll go to job. Then Charles.
There's one significant time in my life that I wanted to stop photography, and that is when my gear was stolen. So, very long story short, I was drugged in an Airbnb and my was stolen. Now, as a photographer, and this is now where the entrepreneurial part comes in, you don't know, you know to an extent the backstory of your client, but you don't know your client. Like, you don't know them. And I went through my regular spell checks. At the time, I used to shoot a lot of at-home sessions. So I have clients who say, I want some portraits, birthday portraits, but I want them at the house. This is not uncommon. So that in itself is not a red flag. I went over and it turned out to be a planned scheme and my gear was stolen. Now, when that happened, something breaks in you, because another thing that photographers we have, entrepreneur-wise, is your intuition. You take a job for a reason. Beyond the cash at the end of the dotted line, you choose the client that you'd like to work with, right? You say, yes, I'll take that job. What guides you there is your inner intuition. I felt like my intuition was broken, because then I started to second guess myself. Do I not know how to select my clients anymore? Am I easily gullible? And people can just come up to me and be like, June, I want a shoot. And I'm like, okay, my shoot cost XYZ. And they run me the money and I shoot the shoot without too much going into it. So that was the one time. I'm a little stricter with my booking process now. But yeah, that was the one time. Your second part of the question was what keeps you going beyond the passion, right? We have to earn a living. Gear is expensive. Executing jobs is expensive, right? It's a lot of work. And it's physically taxing. I don't know if we talk about this enough. It is physically taxing. We are on our feet minimum 6 to 8 hours, depending on what you're shooting, right? And you're carrying heavy gear, and that load is on you. What will keep you going is one, of course, passion. But it's also identifying, I don't want to say what you're worth, but identifying what your work is worth, because there's a number that for you will feel like it's worth it to execute this job, right? And for me, thankfully, the passion has always been a very big drive. I don't take it for granted. As we stand here, I don't know, a part of the story I don't think I ever told you guys is when I started shooting straight from uni. So I've actually never been employed a day in my life. I've never worked for anyone else except myself. That is a heavy load. It's beautiful, but it's a heavy load. It means if I don't get up and work, if I don't get up and sign a contract, if I don't wake up and get another client, if I don't have that drive, I don't have food on the table. And I have rent to pay. Okay, I don't have kids. Before I give you a long line, I have rent to pay, I have a but you know what I mean. So you have to self-audit, and self-audit frequently. Ask yourself, in the last 3 months, the jobs I've taken, did I take them just because of the money? Did I just take it for the check? Or did I enjoy the projects I was shooting? If you don't enjoy the projects you're shooting, put yourself in positions to get the projects that you want to shoot. It's really like that simple. Change where you're at so that you can go into a space where I can't say I want to do documentary work. I've never had a job in my life. Like, what do you mean? Where are the peers that you're surrounding yourself with so that you can go to the NGOs, ask them, what do you look for in a photographer who wants to, what are your requirements? What do you demand of them? Before you can say, oh, I just do this for the passion, you know? Yeah. So self-audit.
Yeah. Before I go to job, and how important, because you talked about your peers, right? I mean, there are people that you're meeting in events. How is it also so important for you to get a support system? Because it's strenuous. It's tough. I think there's a time I met you and you told me, I had just to shut off my phone, and I actually just went for I think a week. You told me a week or 2 weeks or something like this. So how important is it just to buzz it down a bit? And probably even at times when you're going through a whole load, just say, I can reach out to someone and just call them and ask them, hey, Job, hey, Charles, what are you going through? How important is that within our industry?
This is a lesson I'm learning even till today.
Right.
Because as creators, we love to keep going.
Yeah.
We're like, let's go. We're supposed to be creating constantly, I say that in quotes because some of your best work, guys, will come from the day you're resting, not the day you're holding your camera. Some of your best ideas will come the day you had time to go on that Karura walk, and not because you were editing until 2 a.m. trying to get the colors right. Because one thing about our job, and it's demanding. So if you don't carve out the time for yourself, and it's interesting because we were having this conversation just earlier on before we started the panel, I'm telling you as I tell myself, take those breaks. The aspect of being a creative and being an entrepreneur means that you feel like you can't take breaks. Even corporate people take breaks. There's a reason they go on leave. Give yourself leave, guys. Jipatieni leave. Figure out, and here's another thing. We all know that our ecosystems, however your brand operates, there are certain times that it's quieter than most. Take those seasons that are quieter and tell your clients, I'll be back in 2.5 weeks' time. And by the way, many of them might wait. They might wait. You're the creative they want to work with. They might wait. Unless it's a time-bound project, they might wait. So putting yourself on the forefront and putting your health on the forefront, because a big part of shooting is the mental. So how is your mental health? How are you doing?
Yeah.
So we have to be cautious about that.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. So, Job, I'm very curious. In terms of creating a sustainable business, a sustainable creative business, because we're in the creative industry, how, I don't know, from your experience, because you've had quite a load of, experiences through different entrepreneurship journeys that you've undertaken in your life, how also is it important to actually build a system? Because when job is not there, does it mean that the job then does not, the job is not there? When job is not there, does it mean that the job then stops? How important is it just to actually say, I will actually then build a system to avoid burnout, like what June is saying? And you can actually say that at times maybe I probably need to train someone. I probably need to bring an intern in. I probably need to build a system. Do you do that for yourself, or how is it?
Yes, it's one of the hardest things to do because you are building your brand and your brand is you.
Yes.
So
that's what I
when
wanted to
someone books you, for most of my clients, they don't even know the company name. They just know job. When you send an invoice is when they see, this is your company. So it is such a delicate balance in terms of understanding that at some point, for you to build a business that outlives you, you have to build a business that can go on even when you're not there. That is recruiting the right way, outsourcing some of the activities that you can do without, accounting, production. Like most of the jobs that I'm doing right now, I'm doing them through a producer. Where I can meet a client, I can talk to you, I can tell you this is what I do. But then the minute you tell me there's this project I want us to do, I'll listen to the project and I'll tell you, I've understood the concept. I'll have my producer get in touch so that then we can discuss everything else. And then that now takes off preparing pre-production documents, treatments, having to follow this customer up for quotations and for invoicing and for payments. So if you're outsourcing parts of your business that you know for now can survive without my direct intervention, takes the load off you. And it also now starts to show you that actually this thing that I thought that I would not work without me is actually working without me. And my process for building a business that will outlive me one day is that I have a chart where this is where I want to be in 10 years as job, and this is where I want my business to be in 10 years. So where are these two parts overlapping and where are these two parts moving in different directions? Moving in different directions is that I want to be able to take on maybe 5-6 projects a week and not feeling the burnout. So what is happening is that sometimes I'm prioritizing progress over perfection. I might send some team to do this work that is not so crucial to this client, so that this person I'm sending starts to understand how I work. They are starting to understand how this client loves the work delivered. And if it's not the best work this client has received from me, it's not the end of the world. Tomorrow I'll be there, I'll apologize, I'll say, hey, I'll look into it. Next time I'm the one coming, but then the next time I'm also sending someone else. So you're starting to disassociate yourself from the business by unburdening yourself from these clients. Because clients do not know where to draw the line. They'll keep asking and asking and asking. A client will call you, you'll come shoot. They just want this one deliverable. But then they realize, I might need a reel, I might need this and this and this. By the time you figure out what is happening, you're stuck in, you shot for one day, you're stuck in edits for maybe 2-3 days. But if you outsource the editing, maybe you did the shoot for one day, but then the next 3 days I'm relaxing. I'm getting the time to do other things. Also contracts. Work through contracts, because contracts, there's a ceiling to how far you can work without proper documentation. There are some contracts you go to pitch for and they're asking you, we want audited reports. And I'm like, audited what? Which reports? So start setting up these systems early enough so that when you get to that point, you're not now scrambling to find an accountant who can forge audited reports for you, because there are some clients who want also what is a CR12 form. They do not want to work with an individual. They want a company that has a registered address. They have a company PIN and everything else. Set all these processes in place right now when you're starting. We were not lucky enough to know that we would need those documents. So it's been a painful process of now trying to transition. Everyone knows job. This is the company I registered when a client told me I cannot work with an individual. I want a business. I have registered a business name, but it's still working through my PIN. And then now you have to do filings. You have to do this. And working backwards is very difficult. So you get to a point where you decide, you know what, I'm going to register a new company, get proper paperwork for this company. But then now that company has no portfolio. You are now starting to build onto something that you should have been building 10 years ago. Yes.
So right now in your system, just as I go to Charles, so do you have a team in place? Do you have a manager, for example, as well?
Yeah, for my team right
Yeah.
now, I have a producer. She will handle client relations. She'll talk to the clients. The clients at the end of the day know job, because when it comes to, sometimes you have to butter the client in terms of if you have to go out with this client, just have fun, talk, interact. I'll do that because now I'm building this brand up and pulling this client in. But this client knows if they need a quotation, if they need a treatment, if they need to follow up on an edit. I'm not the person they're calling. I have a producer for that. Also, I have an assistant. I have a second shooter. I have a business partner, Tinsy. So sometimes now the load is shared, and now we are starting to look more professional when we go to a client, because a client can tell me, hi, like when I was doing the master class, there's a client that wanted me to go for a recce. And I'm like, no, I'll not be available, but I'm sending someone. And they are like, Tinsy will come. So they are already now starting to understand that it is a business where whether you see me, whether you don't, whether you see Tinsy or you don't see me, they know they are well taken care of, whoever they see, as far as this person is coming from this company. Yes.
That's good, because that speaks to delegation. There is a beautiful book that it's titled, it's The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse. And it talks about that the bravest thing that you actually do is ask for help. And I think, I'm looking at June because we've had this conversation. She's like, because of letting go, right? But before we go, you, June, Charles, how early is early? Because Job talked about that you have, he wishes that he had actually put those systems way before when he was starting off. But remember, you have someone who's probably has their first gig and they're getting 10,000, 5,000 shillings from it, right? So how early is early? How early should they? Because you're looking at, okay, 5,000, he 10K nimepata. I mean, then how do I actually then divide it to maybe have an accountant, have a manager? How early is early for that?
Early is early. So if you had the goat akisema the best time you'd have planted a tree was 20 years ago, the next time is now. So now, if you haven't done that yet, do it. Because now we can't say go back and do it. So now you're able to do it now. But on my side, on my case, I've been lucky, let's say lucky and privileged enough to have done it way early when I was starting up. However, I started up with a partner. I had a partner before, and well, things didn't go our way as we had planned. We had to part ways at some point. But I also remember now there's this quote, the rapper Jay-Z says, everything that happens doesn't happen to you, happens for you. So now all the structures that we had set up ended up working for me, because now we had registered a company. We had now it's called eTeams KRA portal for, of course, now all the documents that you need if you're dealing with other corporates. Let's say all the documentation that you need if you're working for an organization, a company, an NGO. They'll always need to find out, are you compliant? Are you tax compliant? Are you registered? Do you have a postal address? By the way, tuko na postal address na sijaifungua. I don't even know if we have letters there. So early enough as you can, literally, if you're doing this as a professional and you're thinking to do it as a business entity. If you're doing it for fun, I don't think the money factor really matters, because but if you're doing it as business, again, I came here for money. I wanted to make sure all the structures are set properly. So staki nisikie nimepigiwa simu na Microsoft Kenya and I miss out on that gig because I don't have a particular paper or document that we could have gotten. But now, maybe another now abstract on the same sentences. One of my biggest, can I call it regrets at the time, is not charging good when I was starting. So maybe I undervalued myself, and I got into a point where I had clients, for example, let's give it a figure of, I had clients I was charging 10,000 shillings, and they grew to a number that I couldn't service. And then now you are stuck with people paying you 10,000. There are many you're not able to do like all that work that is needed. But you yourself in your mind, you're like, man, hii kazi nafaa kucharge 40,000, for example. So now moving from 10,000 mark to now asking for 50,000 was a big challenge. And the regret was, we wish now we knew coming to the industry how to charge what is proper for that particular service, for example. So it's a regret and also a lesson we've learned through the process. And now I'm keen to understand really what is the market rate for this particular service. What do I need to get this particular job done? And I'm big on team. We build a team that supports the whole production. And that one has worked, because now starting in the wedding industry, again, I couldn't go by myself. So we've always, sourced freelancers, come, we shoot video, when your camera to, the second shooter. So the whole, can I call, system now grew from there. Even to now, we servicing now other corporates and other personal brands. I've always had teams, we work with. So before, when I started, the name was, Ngomo Photography. But now eventually like, no, because now everyone is going to be expecting to have me. So now how can I have my colleague Wayne go and shoot and equally deliver like really good work and not be questioned because of his name? Because now people will tend to not look at what the guy you're sending is delivering, and you're not the guy who came because they hired you. So now we, went to the business name, registered it. So now when you hire us, you're not hiring me. It's me, another couple of other creatives that are coming to deliver certain job.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Before we go to the last question
Mm.
for the panel, and then I just get the guys just to ask some questions also. I'm very curious, June, what's your take on this? When do you let go? When do you say that June was not seen in that shoot, right? When do you say that I got someone else to actually tell us? Because I know we have had this conversation with you before.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate to the two gentlemen here and to what they've said. This is where specialization, I think, comes as an added benefit in a lot of instances. I do think you need an admin team in photography. Again, I'm playing devil's advocate. This is my personal philosophy. I do think you need an admin team. Outsource who's handling, not outsource, but like find a perfect team for your accounts, client management, a lot of the functional aspects of photography. I will say that I find that my brand is entitled Photography by June July. I want every job. What that means for me is, because I do portraits, that I want to get so good at my craft that I don't know why this is choppy. I don't know if it's me or. So, can you hear me? Okay. I want to get so good at the portraits that what changes is the value, the cost of the work goes up and up and up until one day I'm asked to take a $1 million portrait. And I sit at home and I say that was a good day's work. Because I want to show up as June July. That is my personal philosophy. I do think it's just a different way to approach it, but the goal is the same. We want our work to speak for itself. My work, I've attached it to myself, and my brand, I've attached it to June, the person. So that's my thought process for that.
And when you're on that, in terms of what Charles he talked about, which is the right price at what stage in your career? Because you start off at this particular amount of money, and then you're moving and you're moving. How do you get yourself, like what you were saying? He used to charge 40,000. Clients are used to that, but then at what time does he say, okay, I take the next stride, and this is where we are? What's for you? Yeah. Then we'll take the last question.
No
too.
problem.
Yeah.
So I think two things. I found that in this, and we all know this, there's a lot of people undervaluing their work or the scope of work. So there's a lot of undervalued people, creatives, out there. Value comes as a result of two things. The general cost it costs to create the work that you've been given. That is your first finite amount. How much does it cost to execute this job, whatever the job is? From the hours, to the people, to the team that you'll need, to yourself, to your editing time, factor all of those things in. Then you have a fixed cost. Add value. How much do you want or do you feel is the value of achieving this project?
And what's
Now-
value? What's value? Like, yeah. So what's
That is not
Yeah.
necessarily a term
Mm.
you can define
Right,
in
right.
words, because to each creative it's
Yeah.
a different metric, right? For myself, if I'm shooting, I'm trying to think of something just very simple, like a birthday shoot, right? Like it's just someone who's come to me, she wants birthday portraits and she wants me to capture them. I'll know that from that work or from the work that I shoot with her, she might want the typical, she wants to hold a cake, she wants to, the standard type of style that she would want. But I, as a creative, know I'd love to shoot her in a way she's never been shot before. Why don't I capture her, I don't know, in a set designed with water and, or something, or shoot her blurred, or change up the lighting? Those little value metrics, now those, I'm the one who knows what that cost is going to be for me to achieve that. So I think it's more innate than it is describable.
all right? Good.
What do you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah, with June on that, for me, the value is how long have I been doing this for? So, how much of a headache am I helping you avoid? If this project would have taken someone else 2 days, and it's going to take me 2 hours, I'm not going to charge you for the 2 hours. I'll charge you for the 2 days that it will have taken someone else, because now you have more time to do something else, and the quality of work you are getting. I'm not going to make you do this thing 3 times before I figured it out. Yes, so I'm with June. I usually do break down the cost based on the equipment I'm going to use. If it's a project that's going to need an FX6, the quote is going to be higher despite it being the same job. But if it's a job where I need to use an A75, the quote is slightly lower, because now this is how much I would have spent renting this camera out, this lens, and this lens, and this light. So this is operating cost. Then there's logistics cost, and then there's insurance, and then there is labor. Yes, so labor is value.
Oh, thank you for that. So, last take is, I mean, as we close, speak to a young Charles, someone who's just starting off in the industry. I see some young faces in the audience. Probably that's where they are right now. Speak to a young June. Speak to a young Job in terms of where, and just also combine that with now the opportunity of AI and how the world is changing and how those tools are impacting, and what does the future hold for us as we and if you have just a last piece, you can also put it there. So Charles, will start with you.
All right. I say, talking to myself, I'll say, Ngomo, just know God, man. Because when you know God, you'll trust Him, you'll not be afraid. He will provide. And everything that happens in between, it's a lesson. It's not happening to you, it's happening for you. So the missed out opportunities, there were a reason. The people that called, maybe nikakuja nikapotea, maybe ni mtu alikuwa, again, like June has mentioned earlier, go to someone, or rather be Airbnb place, and who knows, maybe wamepanga kitu mbaya. So all those, again, I'll say there are opportunities and chances that were working for me and not against me. So I tend to believe what's mine, it's mine, and it's going to come. Again, I'll not be afraid. Don't be afraid to quote. Don't be afraid to ask for more. Don't be afraid to ask the questions, because you as a client, you have the brief. You know what you want. I need to absolutely and all the time understand what is your vision, what are you going for. Let's avoid assumptions at all. We are not going to assume anything until useme, this is what I'm going for. Yeah, I'll bring my creative insight into it. But again, you have the vision. Before you contacted me, there's something probably you saw I can do, you like about what I do. So again, I'll heavily rely on what a client may provide. Then probably maybe finally I say we're in the communication business. Communicate, man. Communicate. Isifike mali, you're stuck and you can't communicate to the client. Don't go like me and Job, we're doing a project with 5 FX6 and, we haven't thought about the storage. Don't be afraid to tell the client, by the way, we need a couple of TBs here to fast back up this material. So we're in the communication business. Please communicate. Thank you.
So I would tell a young June, trust the process. But I don't mean that in terms of like sitting back. I mean that in you're going to create really bad work for a really long time. And bad work is in quotes because you're learning, right? So you're going to create work that doesn't feel like what you envision, what you have in mind. You're like, why isn't it getting there? But the thing with our work and being a creative and our gear, it's a skill and you will learn it. Keep at it. I would create more often, do a lot more personal projects. I say that even to myself now because the other side of entrepreneurial work is that you get so bogged down with client work that you forget personal work. And personal work is what feeds your passion. So create a lot more of your personal work and build on that. I would also tell her to not be afraid of her voice. And this I am speaking as a female photographer. You are just as powerful in the room as the many gentlemen with you, and it's important to trust your voice. The questions you're asking are important. Get your things written down in contracts. Ask the questions you need to know. A lot of the times people are very willing to help you. So don't look at it as a vulnerability or as a weakness, you know. Keep your stance strong and your presence known, because they value your work for a reason, right? So that's something I would tell myself then and now, because it's always a good time to do a refresher course. In terms of AI and where the creative is going, I think it's a tool, but it shouldn't define yourself as a creative. It shouldn't define you as a creative. I use AI in editing, not in terms of retouching, but it's integrated into our Photoshops, into our Lightroom. We're able to now, you know, if I was in a space that's smaller than this and I needed it to feel like it's a lot larger, I can easily expand it through AI. But I use it as a tool. I don't let it define the work that I'm creating. I'm not creating worlds in AI. I want to create that in real life. So that's how I look at it.
It's beautiful. Job?
For me, I would tell a young Job, go into politics. Money is in politics. But now, since we are stuck in the creative space, it is to start saving early, because the cameras get more expensive. The further you go, the more expensive the cameras are getting. And there were points where we had a lot of disposable income and we had lots of fun. It was important, but if I had saved for the rainy days, I would maybe be having a Burano right now. But then there is a lot of beauty in, I would say, ignorance, in terms of sometimes what you don't know. It's okay not to know it. It's okay just to have fun with what you know until you unlock that next level of, this is how much I don't know. Because if I knew how much I don't know when I was starting up, I would have quit such a long time ago, because it's a long, long journey. When it comes to AI, integrate AI as fast as you can, as early as you can in your workflow, because it's going to save you a lot of time in terms of those things that are not so creative. Research, analytics, treatments. Sometimes you want to design an arc for a treatment to send this treatment to a client. I don't worry about that nowadays. I'll come up with a story. I'll give AI this story and I'll say, have a very beautiful background in corporate colors for the client. So it's adding value to the work I do. It's not going to necessarily get to a point where it's going to replace creativity, because AI also needs to learn from us, and it's learning from the version of me that I was yesterday. Today I'm creating new work. I'm creating from a point of knowledge and a point of experience. But if right now you are to take away AI, I will struggle. I would proper struggle. I struggle with captions. I struggle with sometimes responding to emails. It's taking away the headache. So I'm now taking more time to concentrate on learning, bettering myself, and just creating. Yes.
All right. No, thank you. Wow, that was quite a session. As these guys take a sip of some water, I'll open it up to the audiences to ask questions. If you have some observations, some comments, we keep it brief, and hopefully we can be done in the next 10 minutes. Yeah. So I'll probably hands, and then I can use this mic to just pass around. Questions?
My question is, let's say your work still sucks, and you're trying, but it still sucks. So how do I keep going when my work still sucks and you get to a point where you're disappointed with yourself? You know you can do better. You wish you'd do better. So how do I go around that?
I hope you're referring to success subjective, as not as an objective term. But what I would give you advice to do is now surround yourself with the peers who can help grow your craft. So whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, right? Lean more into the learning aspect. So even as you continue to create, give yourself grace. Actually, I should have started with give yourself grace. Give yourself grace. Because whatever you're defining as sucks might actually just be like a note away from what it is that you're looking to achieve. But I would say, if you're, let's say, shooting, what's your genre of photography?
Photographer.
No, what do you enjoy shooting? Like what type of photography?
Like portraits.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then I would surround yourself, like, come, get an internship with me. Come with me for 2 shoots or so. See what it's like on set. Ask me questions while you're there. Be keen enough not to just observe and call it a day. Ask the questions, get hands-on. So that then you can be like, you know what, this whole time, I can't lie to you, these camera settings in Anikoroga, our settings are a lot in the back of that camera. It's a lot of knowledge you need to have. Do you understand what picture profiles are doing? Because you shot it one way, you go to the computer, your picture is black. And you're like, no, but I shot it and I thought everything went well. So surround yourself with the people who understand this or what it is that you're trying to achieve, and then put yourself in a position of learning.
And also, your work is always going to suck. Even for me right now, my work still sucks when I look at it, because I know where I want to be. So it sucks that I'm not where I want to be, but it's much better than it was 2 months ago, 3 months ago. 3 months ago, maybe I was looking up to this creative, this is where I want to be. But then the human mind works in such a weird way. We never see the progress. I think because the progress is so tiny every day, it's so gradual, you don't notice it. But if you want to know if you are growing, just look at your work today and the work you did maybe 3 months ago. If there is no change, then there is a problem. But if there is change, then you are growing and you are still in the right direction. You'll never get to a point, maybe some of us have, but for me, I've never gotten to a point where I did something and this is the best work I've ever created and I was happy about it. I'll always see something that I should have done better. Yes.
Maybe to add on that, first of all, voice uko nayo, hey, sauti. I think you should be doing videos, not photography. And to add on what Job has said, pia mi sijaifika level, like I feel like my work is the best. I don't know what I was telling earlier. I go on Behance. Behance is that platform online that creatives showcase their portfolio. And the minute I'm on that page, I realize how much sijui, like I suck completely. And there are some of the jobs I've done, I don't want to say like way earlier, but nyuma kidogo. And I wonder how I was paid to do that job. Because now I'm looking at it like, hii kazi ilikuwa chini sana. But these people trusted me enough and they paid me to do that. So don't be your biggest criticizer, but be your fan. Be the fan of yourself so that you're able to now see yourself grow. I tell people, you know, some of my friends tell me, I'm your number 1 fan, for example. No, I'm hapana. You're number 2 because I am number 1 of my work. So I love what I'm doing so much, not to look at the dents on it. Yeah, in a sack, but I'm accepting the way it is because now moving on, I'm growing and I'm learning. And just to look at, or rather, the best way again is to get inspired. Look at what people are doing. Pinterest is there, Google is there. IG is big on people now showcasing their work. You know, look at what they've done in the same industry you're doing. If it's portrait, enda kwa profile ya June, I look at her set, I'm like, hey, yeah. So, you know, be a fan of other people's work, what they are doing, and get inspired. I'm not saying copy, but be inspired so that now you're able to leverage on what you've seen, what has inspired you, and eventually your work will be good. But keep shooting. Don't do it once, then unaenda angi, you know, to conversion, by the next time tunarudi is siku ya maandamano. No, you keep on shooting every day, every opportunity you have. Like today umepiga picha, Louis wako na camera hapa, have you taken one? Take this opportunity, use the gear that is available to better what you are doing right now. Yes. But John is also like an excellent person to answer that, because you've been in the industry, you've seen different people in the different spaces. At East Africa, let's say African work really. So probably you can advise from your perspective.
Okay. So I think for me, I can summarize it in probably a sentence. There is who watches the Lord of who has watched or has read the Lord of the Rings, right? Who are fans of that here?
The film.
You can. And in that there is a character called Frodo. Frodo Baggins is a hobbit, and the hobbit is really this tiny person whose the future of the world is actually, they've been told that the future of the world is upon them, right? And they meet this great elf queen called Galadriel. I believe that's how you pronounce it. And Frodo tells the elf queen that I know what I must do, but I am afraid. I know what I must do. It's just that I'm afraid. And of course, the Queen Elf then tells Frodo Baggins that even the smallest person can change the course of the future. So I think for me, to you, is to reflect that how many times do you feel like, and I think that you've been given excellent answers by the panelists, that you just have to keep on going and don't be the worst critic of your work. Be your greatest fan, because what dignifies a creative is when they see their work and they say, like what Job was saying, at times at that point that is my best work, and down the road they say wa, like what he said, hey, hapa nililipwaje, yani nilipa juu ya hii. So you see, at the end of the day, you're pushing yourself forward, right? Yeah. It's not easy, but don't give up, yeah? Yeah. Good. Finished? All right then. You have a question?
Okay, my name is Felix. Mine is to Job. How do I know if you were to give me 3 pillars concerning my production value, what should you tell me to look at while doing my production value? Like on maybe invoices. I really suck at invoices. Yeah, so 3 pillars on the production.
The first one is to understand the market and understand what is every other client paying for this kind of work. That will give you maybe just the baseline understanding of this is where I should be, plus or minus maybe 5-10K. And then from that is to understand if I'm going to shoot and edit this work. It's not just shooting. I'm going to shoot, maybe the client needs me for a day. How many days will I take to edit this work? That's 2 days. So if I was to charge you 30K just for shooting this project, I will charge 90K, because now I know the client sees just the 1 working day, but the actual project is taking how many days? 3 days. And then just based on how dope you are, how far are you in this journey? If you are starting up, then you have no portfolio to back up what you can do. So you are going to have to give considerable discounts just to get the client interested, but do not undercut the market rate. If the market rate, if Job, Charles, June, if they're charging 50K for this, they have these portfolios. I do not have these portfolios. So how much should I charge for this? Enda chini kidogo. Enda hata 40K, 42K, 43K, hapo, uko tu hapo. Because the problem is when you undercut the market rate so much, the client does not see you as a serious person. They start to have doubts about your ability to deliver. Because why is June charging 60? Now we are charge 20. Kuna shida mahali, anaanza kutafuta hii shida iko wapi. So be within market rate, but also understand where you are in this journey. If you've been shooting for an year, you cannot justify charging premium rates. If you're shooting for 2 years, 3 years, you have whatever this client is telling you to do. I've done 20 similar projects, so I already know the mistakes I made in these 20 projects. So you are getting a more refined version of my creative journey. So I'm going to charge you a premium for that. Yes.
If it's the same job,
Yeah.
but you come and find that the workload is a bit more, how can you like?
Break down your quotations. When you are quoting, do not just give a blanket figure. If you give a blanket figure, then the client assumes this amount is for me to ride you like a donkey until I am tired. If they wanted 40 videos from 1 day's worth of shooting, you did not specify anywhere how many deliverables you are giving. If they want to change today and then tomorrow they don't feel like they really love the changes they asked for yesterday and they want you to roll back to what you had and then they want to add more changes, you can't say, I can't do these changes because you didn't have it in writing how many revisions you can do. So my quotes, even for a single day's project, might be an Excel sheet maybe with around 8-10 lines. Shoot day for this client, for this project on this day. Clients said we are going to start at 8 to 5. That's what I have there. If the shoot goes maybe to 7 or 8 p.m., it's okay, I'll do it. But if they want to push me in a way that is unrealistic, I'm going to say, hey, the quote was 8 to 5. Then there is deliverables. 1 edited video, 1 highlight reel, music licensing for 1 video. So if the client comes and they need 3 more videos, this was the cost per video. Now we are going to add this times 2, and now I'm using more music, so music license it's times 3 also. So with that, the client cannot even argue. There is paper. Yes.
All right, thank you.
So thank you all very, very much. Last thing from when I look back at my journey as well, don't also be afraid to pivot within industry. Pivoting doesn't mean that you have failed. It doesn't mean that you're giving up. Pivoting just means that you're actually, you all know what pivoting means, right? You're within the same industry, but then you're looking at different opportunities. For me, probably that's what happened for me as well. I started off as a photographer, as a filmmaker, and then I went to corporate, worked for Canon and so on and so forth. So don't be afraid to pivot. Doesn't mean that you have failed, all right? And don't be too hard on yourself. So thank you so much. Amazing. Tuwapigie makofi tafadhali. Thank you so much. Asanteni sana for your time. I think we have, courtesy of Cameras Africa and Amisha, we have some nice goodie bags for you as we celebrate World Photography Month and Week. Do you want to do it here? All right, good. And thank you so much to the audience as well. Asanteni. I hope you picked up something. And I think these sort of intimate, they're almost like fireside chats, are very, very important because you can learn. It's like reading a whole book in like 1 hour about June or Job or even Charles and just learning from them. It's very, very important. It helps you get inspired and also you aspire as well. Yeah. So June, sorry, not June. Louis,
Louis.
over to you, please. We are done.
James, you're going to give our guests just a little something, a gift hamper that we had for them, just to appreciate them taking their time to be here with us. You can start over with our moderator, Mr. Yes, why not? Then we have Charles.
Good work, good work.
Thank you very much.
Masterclass yake ilikuwa poa sana by the way.
Thank you so much, Charles, for taking the time and also for yesterday's event. We do appreciate you.
Thank you.
June. Hi, Gali. Thank you so much as well. Yeah, we've done workshops with June. We really do appreciate you taking the time with us. Yeah, yeah. And Zemzito, ambassador. Job book. Well, thank you so much as well for taking the time. We really do appreciate. Thank you. All right, so we do appreciate each and every one of you. So now this is the end of the discussion, the panelist discussion. Now it's time to connect. I'm pretty sure you're going to meet someone who is in the same industry as you. You can also meet our guests here who are also going to share their impacts or their values or what it is that they would love to add on to you as a creative. Lenny, Madhu, ninawaona, you guys also in the industry. We are looking forward by that to do workshops with both of you pretty soon, hopefully before the year ends. So yeah, thank you guys so much. Thank you to
Next
Jitume.
week.
Thank you so much, Job, for taking us through, and see you guys on the next event. Yeah, cheers. Oh yes, tomorrow we do have a Sony Check and Clean. We do welcome each and every one of you who is a Sony creative to come by, bring your gears, and then we're going to cater for them. Yeah, see you guys. Of course, free. Yeah. Yeah.